What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Hey, thank you for stopping by here at Two Gun Pixie, especially for Midday Monologue. I love talking about board games and tabletop adventures, but I do a video every single day of the week to drop on Monday. I love doing this, and I do this all for fun. Non-monetized channel, no backers, no patrons, no anything like that. I just do what I want, when I want. I don't have to worry about any oversight. As far as I know, yeah, this is YouTube's only for fun channel. And for fun today, we're going to talk about something I absolutely, totally love, have my whole life. In fact, I'm even wearing it. That's Dungeons & Dragons. Now, Dungeons & Dragons, besides being a role-playing game, has a lot of board games. And in particular, they have a series of interconnecting board games, their Cooperative Adventure series. And it's pretty big. I mean, there's 6 big boxes already, plus 1 expansion, and who knows what's coming out down the pipe next. I hope another big box. But it can get a little confusing. So why don't you join me down at the table, and I will have a discussion with you. I will talk to you. I will explain things as best I can as far as a buyer's guide for the Dungeons & Dragons Cooperative Adventure System. So join me down at the table, my friends. We'll roll some dice, and we'll get started on this conversation. Alright, so I have been loving, over the years, the Dungeons & Dragons Cooperative Adventure System of box games. It's a little simplistic, I admit that. I mean, I don't think it's as simplistic on the level of Hero Quest is. Maybe I should do a video between those two. Hero Quest versus the D&D Adventure System. Interesting idea. I might do that. It's not complicated. And I've heard some detractors say that it's far too simple of a game. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Yeah, it's kind of simple, but that doesn't take anything away from the game. It is a great system, but it's a huge system. There's already 6 boxes, big boxes out, with 1 expansion, and as I said in the intro, we're going to have to wait and find out what is next, but it is a large endeavor. So why don't we talk about each of the boxes, what comes with it, so you have an idea if you're trying to build your D&D board game collection up, or if you're just interested in this particular series, you're going to know what to look for, because I've been here since the beginning. So why don't we talk about this? Now, Castle Ravenloft was the original of the titles to come out. It was the first one. It came out in 2010, and it really is a perfectly great gateway game to the entire series, if you ask me. Again, it's simple, easy rules, like I said, overall, but they have added things over the years with new additions. This one, streamlined, basic as you can get, perfect introduction to all. I suggest that no matter which of the games, if you're getting multiple copies, everyone should at least get Castle Ravenloft. Hell, even though future titles have become tougher, it is still considered one of the hardest to actually complete and finish the entirety of. It's a great game, but they all come with their unique characters. And since they're all interchangeable, these games, I want to talk about the characters that come with each of these also. So let's take a look again back at Ravenloft here, and we see that this game comes with a human ranger, a human rogue, a dwarf cleric, a dragonborn fighter, and an Eladrin wizard. There's a total of 42 miniatures in this between the heroes and the monsters, which include some really nice pieces. There's a huge Dracolich piece. There's tons and tons of undead, as you can imagine. I mean, you are dealing with a vampire overlord. There's flesh golems, there's wolves, and also gargoyles. Everything seems fitting for a vampire lord. Wrath of Arshadalon came out in the following year, 2011, and that continued along with the series. It did add a couple of things, bringing to the game a sort of new door mechanism. There weren't doors in the game before this, which adds a little bit of a reality check, I think, to going through a dungeon. And of course, there's doors to deal with. Doors are classic in Dungeons and Dragons. You never know which of them are going to be trapped. The rest of the stuff is kind of generic. That it comes with more of the tiles, more of the minis. Speaking of the minis, you're going to get a ton. You're going to get like over 40, about 42 minis again in this one. Why don't we take a look, starting with the heroes. You're going to find an elf paladin. You're going to find a half-orc rogue. There's a dwarf fighter, a human cleric, and a dragonborn wizard. The first two games, Ravenloft and our Shadowline, we got two dragonborn right away from this. Now, there's going to be tons of orcs and goblin pieces in here. There's a huge red dragon miniature, Durgers, cultists, Otyugs, gnolls, one of my favorites, gibbering mouthers. Are you going to find all of these in Wrath of Ashadalon? Now, at the tail end of 2011, they came out with another title, hot on the heels, and that was the highly anticipated Legend of Drizzt. Now, this takes place in hardcore, takes place in the Forgotten Realms, concerning one of most D&D fans' favorite characters, and that's the Drow Drizzt Do'Urden. Am I saying that name right? Close enough for me, anyway. Now, this is going to add even more characters to the game, more than usual, more than any of the other games does, and is so heavily influenced by the source material. Yes, there's source material for Castle Ravenloft, but I kind of feel like they dropped the ball on that, making it as specifically thematic as they could, based on the core material that it's from. They made up for that in the Legend of Drizzt game. Now, besides Drizzt and Guinevere figures that you're going to get in the game, let's look at some of the others. There's a human archer, there's a human assassin, human barbarian, a dwarf battle rager, a dwarf fighter, a drow ranger, a drow mercenary, and a halfling rogue are all among the 40 miniatures that you're going to find packed in this huge box. And speaking of huge, there are some large monster minis that you're going to find in this game as well. There's a huge Balrog figure to terrorize your players with. We have large trolls and a large shadow dragon. This might have the most of the largest minis, at least up until this point in the production line. There's Driders, there's Drow, Mind Flayer, Drakes, Water Elements, Spider Swarms, Spirits, Goblins. Only thing that's lacking from the Underdark, I think, are Grimlocks. Temple of Elemental Evil was a big gap between 2011's Drizzt and then 2019's Temple of Elemental Evil. And this shows. It shows that they did some more work. They added some more things into it, such as changing up the trap mechanism, making it tiles instead of yet another deck of cards to keep track of on the table. They did a really good job updating the campaign mode. Actually, there really wasn't much of a campaign mode up until Temple of Elemental Evil. And that's when they dove right into making it feel a little bit more D&D-like. They also made it easier to level up, in a sense. You can buy your second level by spending 1,000 gold pieces. I guess that's the equivalent of training. You're buying training, I guess. And that helps. That does help quicken everything to level up from first to second. Now, some of the miniatures that you're going to find in this game are absolutely beautiful. They've kept up the great work on the miniatures for this line. You're going to find a human ranger, a human fighter, a sun elf wizard, a dwarf cleric, and a halfling rogue. There's also going to be over 40 miniatures in total, right, with this box set to begin with. And some of the monsters are absolutely gorgeous, and they're all brand spanking new to this system. There's going to be a large black dragon that you're going to have to deal with in this. There's large Ettins, the two-headed giants, right? Large water elemental, large fire elemental, there's earth elementals, there's air elementals. Well, this is the Temple of Elemental Evil, along with cultists are going to be in here, hobgoblins, gnolls, troglodytes, bugbears, doppelgangers, salamanders. You're really building up a great monster library with these games. Tomb of Annihilation is a game in honor of the old Tomb of Horrors by Gary Gygax himself. This is an updated version of it. You could say a new thought on how such an adventure should go. And they added it into the board game as well as the supplement source book and adventure for the D&D RPG game. And this comes with something that I have been expecting for a while, and that's a spell deck. It really adds a new level into this title, into this game, and brings it a little closer to D&D. Now, as far as the miniatures in Tomb of Horror goes, again, we're going to see some beautiful miniatures. The heroes alone, a tabaxi bard, those are the cat-like characters, a human ranger, an arakakra, those are the bird people, druid. There's going to be a moon elf wizard. We just had a sun elf wizard in the past game. Now we have a moon elf wizard in this one, and a sorial, which are the kind of dino people. One of them as a paladin. And the monsters? Oh yeah, you're still getting a lot new monsters in this box as well. And there's going to be large terrafolk, pterodactyl people. We have large minis for gorillions, the huge carnivorous four-armed gorilla horrors. Oh yeah, speaking of four-armed gorilla horrors, there's also a four-armed giant gargoyle that you're going to have to deal with. And there's zombies galore in this game, a lot of zombies and skeletons, vegapygmies, yunti, fire newts, and the large, so large it's almost huge, stone juggernaut construct. They'll be rolling down and flattening your players left and right. Now, the final big box title in this so far is the Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And it does bring even more Forgotten Realms to this system. And you're going to love that, I think. But what's even more fun, what you're going to love the most out of this, is that now your characters can attain 4th level. It doubles the amount of levels that you can get in this game. And all of these new added rules, you can pretty much retcon into the previous games. So, as I said in the beginning of this, I would suggest anyone that wants to get multiple copies of these games that you should start with Castle Ravenloft, where it all started. And then, if you get the Mad Mage, you can retcon all these new rules right back to the beginning of the game. In most cases, it's going to work out fine. It really will. And this game, Mad Mage, is going to bring you some great new heroes too, fleshing it out even more. You have a tiefling fighter, a half-elf cleric, a human sorcerer, a human paladin, and a gnome rogue, all to test the Dungeon of the Mad Mage and the very many monsters that are running around it. We have a huge scorpion construct, large scorpion men, like centaurs, but scorpions. There's a large zombie beholders. There's a death tyrant beholder. A lot of undead here. There's a large iron golem. They are always a horror. Liches, necromancers, thugs, flying swords. There's a lot of monstrosities in here. Death knights, shadows, grey ooze, hags. It really doubled down on the available monsters. Now, finally, it brings us to Saltmarsh. Now, the Ghost of Saltmarsh is an expansion module for the box sets, so it's not going to have any new heroes in it, but it is going to do something I think is a lot of fun. It gives you a town. Its flip side, there's going to be dungeons and stuff, caverns that you're going into, but you finally have a base of operations. You're no longer murder hobos, if you will. Now, some of the monsters, some of the new monster minis in here, there's not a lot because it does ask you to pull from the other games. And if you don't have a particular title that has a monster that it needs for a particular chapter, then it has little flat tokens. That's what you're dealing with. But what it does give you new is some Sahujins. I don't know if I've ever said that name right of those water monsters. Sahujins. That's the way I'm saying it for right now. It does. It gives you several of these monstrosities, these monstrous humanoids, as 3rd edition called them, I believe, into the game. And they're different. It just doesn't give you just like 4 of the same exact one at all. There's the large 4-armed commander of them. There's a cleric. There are some blade masters, and even a great big champion. And again, as I said, the other monsters that you need for the quest are going to be pulled from your other games. That's everything that they have out so far. Those are the titles. That is what is in each of them. And those are the extra rules that they built upon with each of the new titles as they come out. Now, if you're really hardcore into this, there are some other games you can get that aren't the Dungeons & Dragons Cooperative Adventure System, but this game is made to tie in with that. And that's a defunct gaming line system from Wizards of the Coast that was called the Dungeon Command. And there were several different titles in Dungeon Command. It was a miniature-based combat game. There was the Sting of Lolth. There was the Heart of Cormyr. Tyranny of the Goblins. Curse of the Undercity. And Blood of Grumsh. And each of these games, although they're different, they are compatible with the adventure system. So besides the 6 and the 1 expansion, you can actually grow it past that if you really want. But these games, the Dungeon Command system is out of print, so it's going to be harder and a little more expensive to find those titles. But there you go. Everything you need to know about the Dungeons & Dragons Cooperative Adventure System. Which one is your favorite? And which one are you most looking forward to getting? I'm your buddy Big John G for Two Gun Pixel presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.